Welcome. So in this lesson, we're going to be talking about finding a percentage of a number. So when finding a percentage of a number, we follow these instructions right here. So a question like 30% of 50, step 1, express the required percentage as a fraction. So that means, let's zoom in here, instead of 30%, I'm going to write that as a fraction. So I'm going to turn my percentage into a fraction, and that's going to be 30 on 100, because we know that percent means out of 100. Let's now go to step 2. Change the of to a multiplication sign. So we have 30% of 50. So this of here is just a multiplication sign. Next, step 3. Express the number as a fraction. So our number here is 50, and we know that if we want to express that as a fraction, it's going to be 50 on 1. Whenever you want to turn a number into a fraction, you just put it over 1. Then our fourth step here says, follow the rules for multiplication of fractions. And remember, when you're multiplying fractions, what do you always want to check first? You want to check if you can simplify first. So don't just do the multiplication straight away. See if you can simplify it first. All right. So I've got 30 on 100 times 50 on 1. I actually want to show you a really cool way that you can simplify this quite quickly. So remember our bow tie method? I can cancel or simplify vertically and diagonally. Let's simplify diagonally first. I'm going to divide both of these by 10 because 50 and 100 are both divisible by 10. Now, what's 50 divided by 10? Well, it's just 5 because 10 goes into 55 times. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cross out this 0 because it's just gone now. I'm just left with 5. And then over here, I've got 100 divided by 10. And you know what? That's just 10. So I'm just going to cross out a 0 here. And as you can see, I just got 10 now because I crossed out this 0. So I've got 5 up here and I've got 10 here. And all I've done is divided by 10. Now, if you wanted to do this really quickly, what you could have done is just this. So instead of doing all of that, you could have said, I'm going to cross out this 0 with this 0. How cool is that? And what you're doing there is you're dividing by 10. And then what else could I simplify here? I could simplify this 30 and 10 here because I've still got 10. I'm going to divide this by 10 and this by 10. Because 30 divided by 10 is 3, so I'll cross that one out. And 10 divided by 10 is 1, so I'll cross that one out. So as you can see, I crossed out this 0 with this 0. So again, if you wanted to do this really quickly, actually, let me write out what my final answer is here. So what I've got here is I've got 3 up the top, I've got 1 down the bottom, and then I've got 5 up the top here, and I've got 1 down the bottom. And then we multiply across. So remember, you multiply your numerators together, 3 by 5. You multiply your denominators together, 1 by 1. 3 times 5 is 15. 1 times 1 is 1. So that means my final answer is going to be 15. So you can see I did that nice and quickly by using this new technique of just crossing out zeros. So just to go through that again, if you wanted to do this question really quickly when you're simplifying it, I'll just cross out this 0, bring that back. You could have gone like this. You could have gone, well, this 0 cancels out with this 0. Then you could have gone, this 0 cancels out with this 0. And then I've got 3 on 1 and 5 on 1. And then you just multiply as you normally do, and you're done. So that's a really cool way that you can multiply really quickly. Let's now give it another go. You might like to pause the video and see you can do this one yourself. It's going to be the same idea. So remember, we follow our instructions here. So we write 15 of 100. Instead of 15%, we change it into a fraction. Instead of, we write times. And for 400, we turn that into a fraction as well. Then we follow the rules of multiplication, and that's where we simplify first. So in this case, what could I simplify here? Well, I could divide this by 100, and I could divide this by 100. So what I'm doing there is I'm simplifying diagonally. Now, what is 400 divided by 100? Well, it's just 4. So I'm going to get rid of those 2 zeros, and I've now just got 4 here. And then I've got 100 divided by 100. Well, that's just 1, so I can cross out these zeros just like that. And as you can see, the same thing has happened. I'm just crossing out zeros. So again, let me show you how you could have done this really quickly. So instead of writing divided by 10 and all of that, what you could have done is you could have said, this 0 will cancel with this 0, And this 0 will cancel with this 0. Just like that. How cool is that? Nice and quick. All right, now I've got 15 up the top. I've got 1 down the bottom. I've got 4 up the top. I've got 1 down the bottom. I go 15 times 4. I go 1 times 1. What is 15 times 4? It is 60. And that means my final answer here is just going to be 60, because 60 on 1 is just 60. And that is my answer. So just like that, that's how you can answer these questions nice and quickly by using this method of crossing out zeros, which comes in handy. All right, you should pause the video and see if you can do this one yourself, and then watch me and see if you did it correctly. So pause the video. All right, hopefully you were successful. So we've got 40% of 90. So I've got 40. So remember, I start off by writing out my percentage as a fraction times 90 on 1. And then I see what I can cancel out here, or what I can simplify. I could cross out this 0 with this 0. Fantastic. And then I could cross out this 0 with this 0. So that's me simplifying. That's my simplifying step done. So that means I've got 4 on 1 times 9 on 1. I go 4 times 9. I go 1 times 1. 4 times 9 is 36. On 1, it's just going to be 36. And I'm done. So that means 40% of 90 is 36. All right, the next one we have is 45% of 60. How are we going to answer this one? Well, the same thing. We write 45 out of 100. Instead of, we write it times. And then instead of 60, we write 60 on 1. Now, I'm actually going to simplify this one a bit differently than usual. So instead of crossing out zeros, I'm going to do something else. And it's actually because I can divide by something bigger than just 10 here. I could divide this side by 20, and I could divide this side by 20. In which case, 100 divided by 20 is going to be 5, and then 60 divided by 20 is going to be 3. And that just means that I end up with smaller numbers here. And also another reason why I did that is because, as you can see here, I've got 45 and 5 now, which makes it really easy to simplify that, because I can now divide this by 5, and I can divide this by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 45 divided by 5 is going to be 9. So that means after all of that, what I'm left with is a 9 on top, 1 down the bottom, times 3 on top, 1 down the bottom. 9 threes are 27. 1 times 1 is 1. My answer will be 27. Perfect. So that means 45% of 60 is 27. And just like that, we have gone through all these examples. So what we've seen here, and there's still some more examples to come, but what we've seen here is that we can figure out a percentage of a number. So 30% of 50 is 15, 15% of 400 is 60, 40% of 90 is 36, and 45% of 60 is 27. Now, you're probably thinking, where would this come up in real life? And it would come up in real life most of the time when you're going shopping. So let's pretend we're going shopping for a moment. Jacqueline wants to buy a pair of jeans, which are normally $60 and are on sale with a 25% discount. That's pretty good. How much will she pay for the jeans? So this is where maths becomes useful in your real life, because this is something that you would likely encounter. You've got 25% discount on $60. Now, there are two ways for you to figure this thing out. There are two ways of you to do it. The first way, and this is what we'll talk about first, is just finding amount of discount. So if we're going to find the amount of the discount, we're just going to approach this problem as we had seen above. So I'm just going to find what is 25% of $60. Ooh, what the? Go away. Of $60. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out what 25% of $60 is. And I follow my same steps. So I'm going to write 25 like this times 60 on 1. Now, how am I going to simplify this? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to divide this by 20, and I'm going to divide this by 20. That's the best way to go about it, because 100 divided by 20 is 5, and 60 divided by 20 is 3. Now, get rid of those. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the denominator here by 5, and this one here by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 25 divided by 5 is 5. So let me get rid of those. So now, after all of that simplifying, I'm left with 5 up the top, 1 down the bottom, 3 up the top, 1 down the bottom, Now I go 5 times 3 is 15 on 1. My answer will be 15. So that means, what does this mean? This is really important. This means there is a $15 discount of the original price. Does that mean that I'm paying $15? It doesn't mean I'm paying $15. It means I'm getting $15 off the original price. So what that means I have to do now is I have to go 60 minus 15, which is 45. So I'm going to end up paying, I pay $45 for the jeans. I don't think it's actually me who's buying, it's Jacqueline, but you know what I mean. So $45 for the jeans. So you have to make sure that you subtract what your discount is from the original price. Otherwise, it's just, you're not paying $15 for the jeans. All right. There is another way to do this. There is another way to do this. The other way to do this is to say the following. Well, a 25% discount means you are paying for 75% of the jeans. So in other words, you're getting a 25% discount. So normally you pay full price, which is 100%. You pay 100%. But now they're saying, you know what? We're going to take off 25% of that, which means you're paying 75%. You're paying 75%. So we could simply find what is 75% of $60. So instead of finding 25% of $60 and then subtracting it, we could just do this and find it straight away. So let's go through this process. We're going to get 75 on 100 times 60 on 1. Now I'm going to do some cancelling. I think, what should I do here? There are multiple different ways you could do this. This time, just to make things interesting, let's cross out that 0 with that 0. And then after I do that, I've got 75 and 10. Well, what will I do here? Maybe, you know what? I changed my mind. Instead of doing that, let's divide by 20. I think that's going to be the better way to do this. Because you always want to do the biggest thing. It would just get too messy otherwise. 60 divided by 20 is going to be 3. And 100 divided by 20 will be 5. And then I've still got 5 and 15. So this will be a bit nicer. Now I'll go divide this by 5. Divide this by 5. 5 divided by 5 will be 1. And then 75 divided by 5 will be 15. Bit big there, but that's how you do it. So after all of that, what I'm going to end up with is 15 on 1 times 3 on 1. What is 15 times 3? 15 times 3 is 45. What is 1 times 1? It is 1. So that means my final answer is $45. And I pay $45 for the jeans. So that is how you approach this question. I pay $45 for the jeans. So as you can see, you can pick which way you like better. Do you like this way better or do you like this way better? It is your choice. All right, so having done all of that now, that's all the notes that I'm going to work through. Now it's time for you to do your homework. And your homework is just on the next page here. This is what your homework is going to be. I want you to work through these questions here, exercise 4J, and I'll provide you a PDF of the worked solutions. So it's very important that you show me your worked solutions here. So if you're feeling confident that you can do this, you can pause the video now and you can start with your homework and just make sure that you're correcting it and then you upload it once you are done. If you're still thinking to yourself, I'm still not that confident with doing this, well, you can just kind of pause this video. I'll work through a few of these homework questions for you before I say goodbye here. But you don't have to continue watching at this point, but I'm just going to continue working through some of these questions and help you out. All right, let's go with this one, 20% of 80. So I'm going to go 20 over 100 times 80 on 1. And then once I've done that, what is the next thing that I do? Well, I'm going to simplify. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cross out that 0 with that 0. Then I'm going to cancel this 0 with this 0. So that means at the end of all that, I'm left with 2 and 1 times 8 on 1, which is 2 times 8, 1 times 1. I might even write it down here now. 2 times 8 is 16 on 1. So that means my final answer here is going to be 16. Huzzah! Let's go on to the next one. We have 35% of 600. Make sure you're pausing these videos and you're pausing this video and giving it a go yourself. You're not just mindlessly watching me. I've got 35% of 100 times 600 over 1. Okay, what am I going to do here? I'm going to cancel this 0 with this 0 and this 0 with this 0. That's very nice because that is, see how quickly I've just simplified that? So now I have 35 on 1 times 6 on 1. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, I have to do 35 times 6 over 1 times 1. What is 35 times 6? The way that I like to think about 35 times 6 is, what is 30 times 6? Well, that's just the same. What's 3 times 6? It's just 18. And if it's 30 times 6, it's just 180. And then I have 5 times 6. I have 5 times 6, which is 30. And now I just add those together and I get 210. So that means I'm going to get 210 over 1, which is 210. And that's my final answer there. So 35% of 600 is 210. Next one, 10% of 360. So remember, we're going to write 10% as 10 over 100 times 360 over 1. What can I simplify here? I can simplify this 0 with this 0. Nice and good. Then I can simplify this 0 with this 0. That's pretty good as well. And then I've got 1 here and 1 here. I've got 36 here and 1 here. I'm going to go 1 times 36 is 36. 1 times 1 is 1. It's going to be 36. I go on to my next one. And make sure you're pausing these videos and you're giving them a go yourself. You're not just watching me. And remember, you can turn off this video right now and you can do this yourself. I just thought that I would help you out if you need an extra hand here. 25% of 40 is going to be 25 on 100 times, now this is 40, 40 on 1. This time, I'm actually not going to cross out zeros. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this by 20 and divide this by 20. And the reason why is because I don't have any zeros up here. So by doing this, 40 divided by 20 is 2. And then 100 divided by 20 is 5. And then once I've done that, what I'll do next is I'll then go 5 and 5. 5 divided by 5 and 25 divided by 5, which will be 1 and 5. Okay, so just do a nice simplifying here. Okay, so that means I'm going to be left with 5 and 1 times 2 and 1, which is going to be 10 and 1, which is just going to be, drum roll, 10. So 25% of 40 is 10. All right, I think, should I leave the rest to you or should I just keep on going here? I think I'm going to leave the rest to you. I think you can do it till now. This video is going long enough, but remember, you've got all my works solutions that I will provide to you. So make sure you're referring to those as you're going along. But hopefully this video has helped you work through these problems. And you're now just going to continue doing your homework. So just continue to work through this sheet and refer to the work solutions. I shall see you in our next lesson. Goodbye.